A few months ago I made a video summarizing all the positive choices in the game Lies of P, which came out in September of last year. What I did not say at the time is that I had planned to make a video with an opposing premise, using the truth to achieve the most heartless outcomes possible, all while carrying out the will of our creator Geppetto. There's a lot to keep track of, and I will be spoiling important plot elements, so if you wish to play the game blind first, I can't stop recommending that you do so before watching this video. You've been warned. First of all, because I used a dexterity build in my previous video, and because I wanted to start over with a clean slate for this one, I chose the path of the sweeper for a strength build. But as always, this doesn't impact the story in any way. I admit, it took me a while to get used to the slower attack speed. Immediately upon defeating the parade master, you'll run into a bit of a dilemma. You cannot enter Hotel Krat without lying. But of course, we want to be Geppetto's good little puppet. So you will be forced to lie eventually, but you should definitely tell the truth just a few times to mess with Sophia. Then, on the way to saving Geppetto, you'll encounter the Weeping Woman. Of course, you'll bring her baby, but with no obligation to make a dying woman feel any more at ease. Tell her the awful truth. Her baby is a puppet. Then, in the factory area, you can find the first call from Arlecchino, king of all riddles. Answering his riddles correctly increases your humanity, so instead, choose the wrong answer, monster. Don't worry, you'll still get a Trinity key out of spite. Inside the factory, ignore the red fox and the black cat and kill the survivor. When confronted by the atoned, stay silent and kill her. Make sure to pick up the Krat supply box from the chest. Ignore Sister Cecile and let her turn into a monster after killing Archbishop Andreas. Taking this elevator up in St. Frangelico's Cathedral, you'll reach Alidoro. Tell him he can stay in Hotel Krat with no regard for the safety of Geppetto and other survivors. Once in the Malum district, reject the Red Fox and the Black Cat's offer and choose the option Boa Constrictor that finished digesting as your answer to Arlecchino's second riddle. As punishment, the second Trinity key is paired with an explosive surprise. On Rosa Isabel Street, accept Gentleman Julian's quest to find his dead wife, who's actually a puppet. 1895 is way too early of a year to be tolerant of such decadence, so we must remind Julian of how his idea of love is literally unheard of, causing him to commit suicide. After mercilessly beating your childhood friend, return to Hotel Krat to tell Lady Antonia there's nothing left of her beauty. Go outside to the garden, listen to Polendina's confession, and knowing full well that less than an hour ago you spoke to a man who had a puppet lover, tell Polendina there's no puppet who loves a human. This does not constitute a lie in the game's logic, however. Progressing further in the Grand Exhibition, make sure to talk to Belle so she becomes recruited in the hotel. Later on, you will find the third ringing phone with a riddle from Arlecchino. Choosing the incorrect option, glass, actually has Arlecchino send a jester puppet after you to try and blow you up, but you can still find the Trinity key after turning the marble statues to face each other. After you defeat Champion Victor, Simon Manes will finally appear. When he asks you about what you think his cure created, be honest and say monsters. Make a quick detour back to Hotel Krat. Go through with manufacturing the cure for Lady Antonia with Giangio's help, but advise Polendina to withhold the cure from her, playing on his fear of shortening her lifespan by administering it. Talk to Eugenie and she'll give you a glove to give to Alidoro in her name, who had gone to the Barren Swamp. In the transition between the Grand Exhibition and the Barren Swamp, do not give any gold coin fruit to the Red Fox and the Black Cat. In the Barren Swamp, give the glove to Alidoro, tell Eugenie he didn't like it, and ignore Explorer Hugo. Right after beating the Green Monster, but before entering Chapter 9, talk to Belle and agree to help find her partner Atkinson. You can find Atkinson in a train car right before the area where you fight the Robber Weasel. Tell Belle the truth, and upon returning to the train car you'll find Belle dead with Atkinson beside her, fully mutated into a carcass monster. Give the Krat supply box you picked up in the cathedral to Polendina, and buy the bright red apple. When progressing further in Chapter 9, you'll get Arlecchino's fourth riddle. The wrong answer here is Bruise, but this time the only way to get the Trinity key is to go back to the Estelle Opera House and use the bright red apple on the gold statue. Way more useful than giving it to Adelina, if you ask P. Now that you have all the Trinity keys and have saved the survivors inside Hotel Krat, you can head down to the Relic of Trismegistus to get the 5th and final call from Arlecchino. Say yes, which is the exception to our quest of getting all answers wrong, and you'll get the Chosen One's key to track down the puppet behind the phone line. But before that, we must deal with Alidoro. By far the most cruel solution is to talk to Alidoro, ask him about the real Alidoro, and then return to Eugenie to tell her only what pseudo Alidoro told you, saying the fake one murdered the real Alidoro. Technically, you haven't lied, but Eugenie will never know the full truth of her origins or relation to the real Alidoro. Talk to Venigni and listen to the decoded message from the King of Puppets. As Geppetto's puppet, you must not question your creator or throw a wrench in his plans, so one little lie of saying you couldn't hear the final part of the message certainly doesn't hurt. And definitely don't listen to Romeo's private message either. Now to drive the Pistris to the Isle of Alchemists and speak to Arlecchino face to face. Tell him you're a puppet. As for test subject 826, technically not talking to him at all and leaving him trapped is the most cruel option, but I just had to see him on Rosa Isabel Street so I could come to the damning realization that despite what we told Gentleman Julian and Polendina, there are miracles and there can be love between puppets and humans. It's not an evil playthrough if you don't get to confront how messed up the actions you've made are. If you've talked to test subject 826, all this happens after you've defeated Luxasia, before which you also confront the Black Cat, who you have no choice but to kill. After killing Luxasia, let Sophia live. There is no way to cure her, by the way. You've just doomed her to eternal suffering. Kill the Red Fox, tell Geppetto he's a bad father to hurt his feelings, and go to the top of the tower to stop Simon Manus. After he tries to transform into a god but falls before you, say that you've given Sophia peace. For some reason, you don't gain humanity points for saying this, but it's not the truth at all. In fact, this may be the only way in this game to fool Simon's mind-reading powers. Anyway, take the elevator down to the bottom of the tower, while you'll find none other than Geppetto. You don't really have a choice here. And there you have it, the official worst playthrough of Lies of P. What happens after the plot is even more questionable, as Geppetto has learned nothing, abandoning his fatherly duties and leaving behind a letter explaining how he's going to bring order and rebuild Krat in his own image. Yeah, it's definitely time for New Game Plus. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you can have some fun with this insane playthrough, and I'll see you on the next video.
Is this truly the future you wanted?